طيب بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. To begin with, before we begin and take it any further, I would like to briefly introduce myself. For those of you who may not already know who I am, then my name is Abbās Zakaria. I'm a British Muslim, as I mentioned previously, alhamdulillah, and I'm currently living and studying in the Gambia as a Muhājir. The purpose of this session, as we said, is to unravel and discuss and speak about some of the key points connected to Hijrah, specifically as it relates to what we mentioned, balancing. How does one balance maintaining a family, seeking knowledge, fulfilling their financial obligations, and other than that, we want to speak about these things. We always get messages. People, they send messages all the time. They send emails. They send messages on Telegram, on WhatsApp. Other than that, asking questions. So that's what we're going to get into today. Bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. The session is going to be somewhat interactive, which means that if anybody has any questions, if anybody has any points or anything like that, feel free to post a message in the chat. Likewise, brothers, there's an option on here, I think, to raise your hand. Now, if you would like to say something, come on the mic. If appropriate, then that's what we can do, inshallah ta'ala. And now let's take it from there. But before we begin, I would like to ask, as it relates to Hijrah, those of you who are currently here, who considers Hijrah to be an obligation, and who considers Hijrah to be something that's just recommended and something that is good to do? Yani the Muslim, it's good if he does it, but it doesn't really make a difference if he doesn't. Who considers it to be an obligation? Tayyib, obligatory. Barakallahu feek. Anybody else? Obligation. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Tayyib. It depends on the situation. Khair. Obligatory if one is unable to uphold their deen. Depends on the circumstances. Tayyib. Barakallahu feek. Inshallah, you're still able to benefit from the English now. Inshallah, you're able to. Obligation if one is able. Tayyib. That's very interesting and it's good to know now. And Hijrah, subhanAllah, is one of those topics that today has become, you can say, a hot topic. Everybody's talking about Hijrah, in one way or another. But as it relates to the reality of Hijrah, not many people have understood its importance. Even if we say that it's an obligation, but how important is that obligation? That's what we want to get into somewhat as well today. Also, I wanted to ask, from those who haven't yet made Hijrah, okay, who from amongst you plans to make Hijrah within the next, let's say, 5 to 10 years? Let's say 5 years. Does anybody here plan to make Hijrah within the next 5 years? Obligation for some, highly recommended for others. Jayyid. Okay, there's one. Around 6 to 7. Tamam. Anybody else? Bi'idhnillah. Yassir Allahu lak. طيب, I've already started my journey. Allahumma barik. Jameel. Khair, inshallah. I want to this year. May Allah make it easy for you also. طيب. To begin with, I want to speak about my Hijrah journey somewhat. Alhamdulillah, I consider myself to have made Hijrah for the last 2 years, alhamdulillah. Naam, for the last 2 years. But my Hijrah journey in of itself, it begins a lot before that. It begins in 2015. Tayyib, in 2015, myself and my family, and I didn't mention before, did I? But myself, alhamdulillah, I have a family of 7. 5 children, alhamdulillah. We first left the UK at that time, just 2 children, in 2015. We left in 2015 and we went to Egypt. But at that time, in my opinion, for myself personally, I didn't really look at it as Hijrah, even though Abbās, Allah yahfaduha. And I didn't mention that she's here, subhanallah. Naam, she's also here. Allah yahfaduha. Some of you know her from online. She calls herself the expert lifestyle coach, and that's what she is. Allahumma barik. She's also here. She may interject sometimes. Naam, I should have said in the beginning. Assalamu alaikum ya Abbās. على كل حال, Abbās, Allah yahfaduha, she made the intention for Hijrah before me. We traveled together, of course, but I didn't actually make the intention of Hijrah from the very beginning. And that's important to note, that as it relates to Hijrah, the intention is key. The intention is key, but we left the UK in 2015 and we went to Egypt somewhat indefinitely. And, at that time, we didn't have much of a plan. Okay, we didn't have much of a plan. We went there and we were somewhat prepared to just see how it goes. Let's just see how it goes. That doesn't mean that I didn't speak to people. Of course, I spoke to people who were there, and I got their opinion. What should I do in this situation? Where can I get this? Where can I get that? How do I go about doing this, etc. I spoke to people without a doubt, but a concrete plan, I didn't have it. A concrete plan, I didn't have. And this is one of the things that if I were to say and advise with, immediately, that a plan is key. A plan is key. If anybody, is planning to make Hijrah, then don't just go into it blindly. Know what you're doing, and at least try to map out what you're gonna do for the next 10 years. So we went there, alhamdulillah, and we were only there for a few months, and then Allah decreed that we had to go back to the UK. We only spent a few months in Egypt. And for me personally, I'm not speaking for Abbās. This is one of the reasons why myself, when anybody asks me, when did you really leave the UK? I don't really consider 2015 myself, okay? In any case, we went back to the UK and we were there for some time. We stayed there until about late 2016, I believe so, late 2016, early 2017, we decided to make a move again. We made a move again. It was around this time now, Abbās, and we went to Al-Maghrib, we went to Morocco. And we spent some time in Morocco again without much of a plan. Okay, let's just see how it goes. And we were there for 4 weeks until we made that decision that it's not what we're looking for. And here is another point, and that is, whenever you decide to make Hijrah to a country and go to a specific place, there has to be things that you're looking for in that country. There has to be things that you're looking for. What are the things that you're willing to, what are the things that you're not willing to compromise in that land? The must-haves, quote unquote, now. And that was it. So for me personally, as I'm going to speak about, ilm, knowledge was a key factor. It was a key factor. I was not prepared to move to a place that I'm not able to benefit, myself, and also benefit my family members, etc. So, from this angle, and other than that, we decided that Al-Maghrib, Morocco, for us, it wasn't the place. But saying that, just because it wasn't the place for us, anybody listening, if you're planning to go to Morocco, that doesn't mean that it won't be the place for you. Never make that decision merely based upon somebody else. La, you have to go and see things for yourself, because al-khabaru laysa kal-mu'ayyana, or laysa al-khabaru kal-mu'ayyana. Hearing about something is not like seeing it for yourself now. So this is how it was. We went back to Misr early 2017, and at this point for me, it was literally, it felt surreal to be back. It felt surreal. And I tried to get into the swing of things again, memorizing the Quran and learning Arabic, and other than that, from that which I was doing. But at this point, we hit a hurdle. Tayyib, I say we, but I hit a hurdle. Tayyib, as the provider of the family, I came to that hurdle of money. Okay, how was I going to continue to finance and facilitate for that which we were doing? How? It was difficult. So at this time, I had to make the decision: do I stay in Egypt and just, now is it clear for everybody? Can everybody hear me? You can. So I had to stay there. I had to make the decision: do I stay there and just rough it out, quote unquote, or do I leave? Do I leave? And at that time of my life, I left and I made the decision to go back to the UK for a short while to try and generate some income. And this is something that, speaking to many brothers, this is all, this is a solution. This is a way for many brothers. They say, okay, I'm going to travel to Misr, or I'm going to travel to Maghrib, or I'm going to travel to here or there. and I'm going to leave my family there, and then I'm going to go to the UK, or I'm going to go to America, or I'm going to go here, go back, and I'm going to stay there for a few months and generate income. Many people do it. Many people do it. And subhanallah, doing it like this is not feasible. Okay, it's not feasible. I say this with experience. It's not feasible, subhanallah, because and Abbās, you can seconds me on this. Now, doing it like this, when the brother leaves, it disturbs that which he's doing. It disturbs that which he's doing. It disrupts that which he's doing. If he's a student, it's going to disrupt his seeking of knowledge. And even if he's not a student, subhanallah, it's going to disturb his family time. Tayyib, the time that he should be spending with his wife and with his children and seeing them grow up, etc. It disturbs it tremendously. Sah wala la, ya Abbās? Is she still here?
Sahih. Assalamu alaikum. So just to give a little bit more clarity on that topic there about the time away from the family. Now, I think it's very important to mention as well, like the how much of a detrimental effect it can have on the family when the provider, the head of the household is away for long periods of time. Like, for example, the head of the house missing big milestones of his children, like when your child, for example, has just completed maybe their first juz of Quran, or their first steps, or the potty training period, or them get achieving certain levels of like, for example, our children was going to a markaz in Egypt. So when my children would pass a certain level in their Arabic or something like that, and they would get a certificate, it would be like a very happy time of achievement for them. Those would be moments where, for example, you would miss. So these are things that people should consider, and these are things that a lot of people fear. And then on the flip side, these are also things that some people don't consider, which is very important.
Yeah, subhanallah, saying that for me, and for me personally, I remember how I'd feel being there in the UK. Whilst my family is there in Egypt, they're hearing the adhan, they're getting on with it. I'm in the UK, in the cold, having to work, just work like this. You're there in the land of kufr again, your iman, it goes down, and then you receive a video. Your youngest son, he took his first steps, or you hear a voice recording of, one of your children reciting a surah. It's like, you're on that surah now, mashallah. For me, that was a very difficult thing to deal with. And I'm not sure, some of the other brothers in here, maybe you've done it, wherein you've left your families elsewhere and, you've gone back to work. Maybe you haven't done it. Maybe it's something that you was thinking about doing. This is definitely something that you have to consider. Now, that whole aspect of being there as your child and your family, they develop. So ala kulli hal, this is how it was, and it was like this for a number of years, back and forth, from Egypt back to the UK, like this, trying to generate that which wasn't much in reality. It wasn't much. So it continued like this right up until late 2022, yani. Back and forth. And like before that, subhanallah, around 2019, things got a little bit difficult. Okay, got a little bit difficult financially. It did. But I said to myself, and I said to Abbās, la, I can't keep doing this. I'm not going to do it anymore. Going back to the UK, spending months there, when you leave, go to the airport, children crying and this, I don't want to do it anymore. I don't ever want to go back to the UK just for mal. I don't want to do it anymore. Bearing in mind that at this stage, I still not made the intention for Hijrah. But I just knew that I didn't want to go back. No. And this is when, I initially started the whole concept of carriers of the Quran, for those who know, wherein we started teaching the Arabic language as another means to try and generate something. Ala kulli hal, let's fast forward. We stayed in Misr until late 2022. And, throughout this duration, a lot happened. And, there was a lot of development, alhamdulillah. Our children, mashallah, they benefited, I benefited, Abbās, she benefited. But there was still something missing. And that is, as a father, you have to look into, as they say in Arabic, the mustaqbal al-ba'id. You have to look into the far future. What does that mean? If you have children, you can't just think about now. okay, now for the next, however long I want my kids to memorize the Quran, or I want them to learn Arabic or this or that. That's not it. That's important without a doubt. But you have to think later. Okay, as you get older, when you die, how are you going to leave your children? This is muhim jiddan. Naam, Allahu Azza wa Jal, He says in the Quran, وَتَزَوَّدُوا فَإِنَّ خَيْرَ الزَّادِ التَّقْوَى. Make preparations. And the best preparation that you can make is at-taqwa. You have fear of Allah. And this ayah, subhanAllah, it came down regarding some individuals who they planned to make hajj. But they said, we're only going to put our trust in Allah and we're not going to bring along any provisions. Okay, so Allah sent down this ayah, meaning that, no, take provisions. And this is important. So, thinking ahead into the future, we said, okay, as it relates to things such as somewhere to live permanently, housing, establishing, something substantial as it relates to our children's financial future. And other than that, we need to start thinking about this. And this is not something that we can do in Misr, sarahatan. It's not. But at the same time, we don't want to go back to the lands of kufr. We don't. So we started planning and, putting things together. And, long story short, this is when we decided, okay, let's look at somewhere else. And then, after research and, looking at other places, etc., we decided that Gambia was, just a second. Gambia was the place, okay, because of that which it has to offer, and other than that, which we'll get into. But in any case, we decided that we're going to make hijrah to Gambia. And we eventually came to Gambia in March 2023. And, I didn't mention, but along the way, along that timeline, from 2 children, now we have 5. Okay, so as a family of 7, we're here and we're in the Gambia. So, when we got to the Gambia, things were different, very different to what you're used to. Don't think, ya ikhwa wal akhawat, that if you travel to a land for hijrah, that you can automatically expect things to be the same way that they were in your land. Don't think this. Don't expect this. You have to know that there's going to be differences, customs that you're not used to, things that you have to get used to, etc., etc. The food, the weather, the water. For example, here in the Gambia, when we first came, here, this place is known. They have power cuts. They have a lot of power cuts with the electric. They have water cuts. Of course, there's ways to deal with these situations. There's ways to deal with it without a doubt. But this is something that is prevalent here. You have to get used to it. Wildlife. I remember, subhanallah, very early maybe in the first few months, Abbās, she came to me and she said, "You'll never guess what. You'll never guess what I just saw outside our compound." Or, I said, what is it? She said, "It's a rat." But it wasn't a rat, subhanallah. They have some type, what do you call it, a rodent, something here. They call it a dix. That's what they call it here. But it's huge. Like on the camera, I can't show how huge it is, but the thing from head to toe is huge. It's like 2 times the size of a rat that you would see in the UK. But they say they're harmless. They're not. They don't look. But Allah mustan, having to get used to that and get used to other things, and you have to get used to it, subhanallah. So we came here, and at this point, we had a plan. Okay, was the plan complete? That's a different story, but we had a plan. Without a doubt, we knew what we wanted to do. We want to go there, we want to do X, Y, Z, and establish X, Y, Z. And alhamdulillah, until now, we've managed to put the vast majority of that into action. But Nam, is there something you wanted to address? Nam, Ya Abbās, is there something that you wanted to say, Nam, or no? Naam, Assalamu alaikum. It's not working,
Naam. Just to address the comment by Mariama Damfa, I'm assuming.
Let's take that at the end, inshallah, Naam. Them questions, let's take it at the end. Naam.
She's Gambian by her name. Allahumma barik.
Hey. There's a delay, Naam. Hey, inshallah. External comments, like the one that we have. Like the one we have. We're gonna take them. We'll take them at the end, inshallah. Especially because of the delay and the time. Yes, it's going to be on YouTube, inshallah ta'ala. So yeah, we got here.
Yes, inshallah. Okay.
طيب. And now for the main part of what I wanted to speak about, and that is the concept of balancing. What does balancing actually mean? Many people, they have a wrong understanding of what it means to balance. And they think that balancing, it means 50-50, as they say, or everything has to be equal, that you give 1 hour to this, 1 hour to this, 1 hour to this, and that means you've balanced it. La, this is a mistake. طيب, rather, balancing means that you give the right amount of time, the due time to each thing individually, which means that sometimes in your life, you may be given more time to this, and the things over here are somewhat neglected. And then in another time of your life, you may be given more time to this, and then other things, they may be neglected. And when I say neglected, I mean, you're given less time to those things. That's important to know. And you have to be able to judge the things that require the most time from you at that particular time period. That's important now. So as for myself, and as it relates to balancing that which I do, those 3 things now, as it relates to family time, finances, and looking after my financial situation, and also seeking knowledge, then the way that I balance that, okay, I'm going to start with the asl, the foundation, the main part, the pillar of my day, and that is as it relates to knowledge. I consider that to be the pillar of my day. Okay, that everything that I do, I try to make it revolve around my life here as a student. And this is something that, I have to mention. It's important that I mention it, that, over the years that I've been trying to seek knowledge since very early, Abbās, Allahumma barik, shout out to her, has been my rock in that regards, and, aiding me and supporting me to, fulfill the things that I'm trying to fulfill. And, with that is, sometimes it's been at the expense of herself in reality. And, I mentioned this because, for the brothers that are listening, but also for the sisters also, I say that when you're on this journey of Hijrah, doing it with somebody who has the same mind state as you, who's going to support you on that journey and have patience with you on that journey, is key, is pivotal. It's pivotal. And how many people, subhanAllah, have you spoken to? I know brothers, we've spoken to them, subhanAllah, they say, yeah, I want to make Hijrah. I need to get out of the UK. This place is destroying me. My iman is low, it's finished. طيب, tafaddal. But my wife, she's not ready to leave yet. Or, my children, they're in school, or other than that, and my job and XYZ, and Allah musta'an. Naam, it's about compromise. You have to know that along the way, there are things that you have to compromise, without a doubt. Naam. So when you have, there's a bit of an echo now. When you have a wife, and sisters, when you have a husband, and who their mind is the same as yours, it helps. And it reminds me, subhanAllah, what Allah mentions in the Quran in Surah Al-Taghabun. He says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, he addresses the believers. Inna min azwajikum wa awladikum aduwan lakum fahdharuhum. He says, indeed, from your spouses and from your children, some of them are enemies for you. They're enemies. وَإِن تَعْفُوا وَتَصْفَحُوا وَتَغْفِرُوا فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. But if you pardon them, then Allah is the most forgiving, the most merciful. Just a sec, ya Abbās. Now, طيب. So again, the reason why this ayah came down is because when the Sahaba made Hijrah from Mecca to Medina, many of them, they made Hijrah now, but there were some who they remained behind. And the reason why they stayed behind is because their spouses would say to them, يعني صبرنا مع إسلامكم. We were able to be patient with your Islam and you being a Muslim. لكن لا نصبر مع هجرتكم. We cannot be patient with your Hijrah. So they stayed behind. Then when those individuals saw the progress that those other companions made when they went to Medina, they increased in strength, they increased in ilm, they increased in in the iman and all of that. They became angry. They said, we're never going to forgive you. Point being, Allah told them, forgive them, etc. But look, this is what happens. If you don't have somebody with you who's able to help you and aid you and support you upon the journey, you're going to miss out upon khayran kathira, upon a lot of good. And Allah knows best. Naam, ya Abbās, what did you want to say? Over here, there's a bit of a delay, subhanAllah. But
so, as it relates to having a spouse, you know, the other person, the other, so to say, the other adult in your household. Yeah, it's true. It's very important that, you know, you're both on the same page as it relates to hijrah. It's very, very, very important. But the fact of the matter is, and I hear this all of the time from sisters, is that, you know, there are many sisters and even brothers as well, but obviously, you know, because I speak to sisters, there are many sisters who are really, really, really keen to make hijrah, but their husband isn't there yet. Their husband's not on board yet. So, but the ones whose husbands are on board and on the same page as them, as it relates to hijrah, Allahumma barik, that's a ni'mah. But as it relates to those whose husbands aren't on board, you know, some things that I would definitely advise is, first and foremost, make sure you're getting up at that last part of the night and making your dua. Make sure you are getting up at the last part of the night and making your dua. I'm telling you, it works. It works, it works, it works. That is number one. And even when it's not the last part of the night, at any time, any chance you get, make sure you're making your dua continuously. Keep asking Allah for it. Keep asking Allah, the one who is the turner of hearts, keep asking him to open up your, this is, you know, my advice to sisters, but also to brothers, you know, ask him to open up your spouse's heart to the idea of hijrah. Because a lot of the time, many people's spouses, they're comfortable where they are in the West, you know, they don't really, even if they like the idea of hijrah, they don't really see it as a need. They don't really have that zeal, that willpower to get up and leave, you know. So I would definitely say, make sure you are asking Allah to, and continuously asking Allah to change your spouse's heart. And another thing I would say is, always be communicating with your spouse as it relates to it. Don't argue, don't nag, but communicate. Look for opportunities to communicate with your spouse about it. Allow them to see the benefits of hijrah. Clarify that to them, the benefits of making hijrah. And, you know, don't allow them to get comfortable in seeing the West to be something that is like highly favored. You know, always boost up the Muslim countries to them any chance you get. When you have moments where, you know, living in the West, they might be, you know, some, you know, there's always things about the West that are annoying at the end of the day, whether it's governmental issues or whatever, right? When those situations arise, you use that as your opportunity to say, look, see, this is why we need to make hijrah. These kind of places, you know, this is why these kind of places, it's not good for us to leave. We should make hijrah. Things like that, you know, keep dropping the seed in their ear. Don't give up on planting that seed and then watering it. This is what I always advise people to do. But just don't give up on it. Always ask Allah, keep asking Allah. Don't give up in asking Allah, and keep on, don't stop in speaking to them about hijrah. But obviously, like I said, not in a nagging way, not in an argumentative way, but like in a nurturing way. So that's what I would definitely say. That's an advice I would say in, you know, trying to help your spouse, you know, grow a love for hijrah if you're not on the same page.
أي نعم بارك الله فيك نصيحة قيمة جزاكم الله خيرا. طيب أي نعم without doubt, also with parents, excellent point. نعم, also with your parents and trying to convince them if there's an issue there. نعم صحيح.
Yeah, of course. And as it relates to parents, even whilst we're on the topic, you know, that's one of the biggest things what, you know, stop a person from making hijrah is because they don't want to leave behind their parents, you know. And again, I'm not ever going to stop saying it, you know, make your dua, because I've seen time and time again how in the beginning of a person's hijrah journey, their parents are completely against them moving abroad, completely against it. And if you knew how many times I've seen when a person makes hijrah for the sake of Allah, they keep their intentions pure, and then maybe 2, 3, 4 years later, their parents have also made hijrah with them. Their parents are also living in the country that they've moved to with them, you know. And this goes for Muslim parents and non-Muslim parents. So again, I will say, make sure that you are increasing in your dua, increasing righteous action.
Naam, Jazakillahu khaira. So, naam, these are very important points. And, you know, as I mentioned previously, so as it relates to this idea of balancing, it's important to know and prioritize those things that, you know, they take precedence at a certain time. So as for myself, the way that I've built my household, let's say, and wallahi, that's not a self-praise, but it's the way that I try to build my household is that the pillar of it is ilm. And everything that we do, it revolves around that. And it's like everything else that you need to do is, you know, somewhat like you do it in accordance to like a necessity. You know, you go here, you go there, you do this, you do that, etc. That's what it is. So, you know, for myself personally, and this is just my perspective, Abbās, inshallah ta'ala, is going to do a separate session for sisters only. And she will give a bit more details regarding her, you know, from her perspective. But as for myself, you know, then, you know, my day, it starts at Fajr time. It starts at Fajr, you wake up at that time, you know, you wake up the children, etc. You pray Fajr and, you know, get them to do their Quran, you do your Quran. At this time, this when I get ready to go to the Jamia. Now I get ready at this time, so you eat a little bit of breakfast, maybe do a little bit of hifz, do a bit of memorization, and then you're out the door, you're there. We start at 8. Okay, so we're there, we study from 8 until 2. Now I'm 8 until 2. And then pay attention now. So I've been out for all of these hours. I leave the Jamia, I go back home. As soon as I go back home, it's like this. I give them the car and then they leave, all of them. All of them except the 2 youngest ones, but they go back there because they're also studying there in the evening. Okay, so it's like this. So they're gone. So until now, this is like 2, 3 o'clock. I haven't really spent much time with them. Okay. And they're there. I will get a bit of rest from 3 to about 4, etc. And then from about 4, let's say 4:30, you know, I try to plan my classes that I have ahead of me. I try to plan them, you know, my Arabic classes, and other than that, the classes that we teach throughout the week, etc. Now, it's not much time, but it's the time that I have. And then from about 6, most of the times I teach classes, they start at 6 till 7 or 6 till 8, etc. Now, so let's say, you know, the days that I teach Arabic, for example, I finish at 8. By that time, they're back. So I finish teaching. Now it's 8 o'clock. Within that time, from 8 until bedtime, okay, we have to try and get dinner time in, family time in. You know, I also, you know, listen to my children's Quran. You know, I listen to them. They have to recite to me, etc. Like this. I help them with their muraja'a and stuff like this. And I also have to get personal study time in for myself, trying to study a degree. It's not easy. And also, you know, spend time with the family, as I mentioned. And also find time to, you know, plan things as it relates to business and, you know, stuff like, there's not a lot of time. There's not a lot of time. So in the beginning, this is how it was like this. It was very, very strenuous, as you can imagine. And, you know, things, they started to get neglected. Those of you who are listening, who, you know, you follow the classes, you know, you will see there was a shift. Now, that shift, it didn't just come out of nowhere. You know, that shift came about due to trying to balance the whole dunya. Now I'm on my shoulders at one time, subhanallah. So, you know, moving forward, you know, I said to myself, and I said to Abbās, it can't continue in this way. No way. It cannot continue in this way. We're here and there's so much going on, but there's no time. There's no time. So we have to figure something else out. We have to, okay? And, you know, that's when, you know, we came up with the whole concept of farm to fund. You know, many of you know about that already. And then a bit later, the Gambian real estate project that we're going to talk about. Bi-idhnillahi azza wa jal. Ala kulli hal, this is, you know, generally my day and, you know, how I do things. So with that, as it relates to what I do, okay, is that the vast majority of the day, you know, until bedtime, I give that to the family. I give it to the family. I listen to my kids. And subhanAllah, imagine, okay, when they get back, I tried this yesterday. If I give each one, okay, or let's say the 4 eldest ones, the youngest one, is not, you know, like that. But let's say for the 4 eldest ones, just half an hour, just one-on-one time. That's going to take 2 hours of my day already. 2 hours, subhanAllah. And I gave them that time, try and listen to them. You know, do you want to speak to me about anything? Have you got any questions, anything that I can help you, etc. But only half an hour. What is half an hour in reality? But it's something, okay? It's something. and you know, you try to divide the time like this, and I'm spend some time speaking to Umala, back to maraja. You have to get your maraja time in, etc. Just a second now, and you know, with that, in reality, it's not feasible. What's gonna happen? Ya ayyuhal ikhwa, I mentioned this to you specifically, is that if you're doing it like that, you're gonna get burnt out. That's the reality. If you're studying full time, you're gonna get burnt out. Okay, so you have to look at options and look at ways whereby you can, as they say, you know, what's the statement? You know, work smart and not harder, as they say. Naam. So, Tayyib, what did you want to say?
Me.
Naam, ya naam.
What I wanted to say was, even though you're speaking and you're talking about the struggles that, you know, of balancing family life with talab al-ilm and so on and so forth, I also want to make light of the fact that the struggle doesn't stop. You know, a lot of people think that when you make hijrah, you know, that's it, like you live happily ever after. No, the struggle does not stop. That's what a lot of people need to understand, okay? However, even though the struggle doesn't stop, after making hijrah, we're in a much better position. We're in a much better position. So going from being in the UK, working a 9 to 5, not having time with your family because you're working long hours, on top of the fact that you're in Dar Kufr, so your iman is just fluctuating, it's down, up all the time. And you know, all the other things and evil that comes with being in a land like that. To now
Naam. Your voice is cutting out,
of the
Naam. Your voice is
Muslims,
cutting out.
yes, you're still going through the struggles, but being in a land of khair, being in a land of Islam, that makes things 10 times easier. It makes the struggle 10 times easier. When you're in the UK and you're going through these struggles, you're doing it somewhat with a frown on your face, you know, because of the environment. However, when you're going through the struggles in the land of the Muslims, yeah, it's not easy sometimes. However, you're grateful because you're in the land of the Muslims. And that the fact that you're in the land of the Muslims and you're so grateful to be there, it makes dealing with those struggles a lot easier. And
No, we caught that point. I mean, it was cutting out a little bit, but we caught that point, and it's true without a doubt. It makes it 100 times easier. Struggling, but you can hear the adhan, and there's Muslims around you. You go outside, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa hakada. It makes it a million times easier without a shadow of a doubt. It makes it a million times easier, and I say that. In fact, I have to get this message out also. It's my time now, and that is, you know, sometimes you meet people when you come to lands like this or other than that. You meet people that are from these lands originally, and they have a notion that the West is the be all and end all. I have to go to the UK, I have to go to America, you know, and this and that. This is false. This is false. And what's going to happen, okay, and I say this having spoken to many people who have done it, people from here, Gambia, and other than that, who, you know, they went to the UK or America from a young age, and they're not happy in reality. Yes, they might have a little bit more money, etc., but they're not happy. This is a reality. So, subhanAllah, as it stands, you know, we're here, we've been here 2 years now. And, you know, many of you've seen us speak about that which we do. You know, we're here, we're trying to establish a community whilst being here. Okay, we're trying to establish a community whilst being here. We're here, and you know, the area where the Jamia is, okay, which is an area called Jambanjeli. Now, that area, we are, you know, in the process of establishing a masjid. Okay, we're trying to establish a masjid first and foremost, one that serves as a pillar. Okay, it serves as a pillar for the Muhajir community because there's a need for it, and we've spoken about it. And, in the midst of speaking about it, we've had mixed feedback, or if you can call it feedback, or mixed responses. Some people have said, MashaAllah, this is great. This is something that is needed, X, Y, Z. Other people, they've given us negativity. Why? Why are you establishing a masjid? It's a Muslim country. There's masajid everywhere. They don't understand the vision behind it. But now is not the time or place, to speak about that in detail. But it's just, Allah musta'an, this is what we're doing. Or from the things that we're doing, we're also establishing a school, okay? Establishing a school so that our children, okay, and the other families, their children can, attend that school and learn the Quran and learn the Sunnah, as well as learn secular studies and, that which they need to study to grow and develop into, the adults and, the kibar of tomorrow that we're trying to raise. Now, and many of you've been sending messages about asking about, Jamia, Imam Bukhari, etc. I can answer any questions about that shortly. You've also been asking questions about Gambia real estate. That's what my email, subhanallah, and my WhatsApp. And other than that, some people, they may be offended, and if so, I say openly, I apologize. Now, me taking long to respond is not intentional, but I get extremely busy, as you can hear from this. From how I describe my schedule. And not only that, I get overwhelmed with messages sometimes. So sometimes I may take long to respond, but I haven't forgotten about you. I will respond. But in any case, just to briefly answer some of the messages that I've got recently about the Gambia real estate project, then yes, this is from one. This is the biggest project as it stands that we're currently working on and is in the process of establishing. And the idea behind that, as we've mentioned previously, and I'm going to mention it again, is that we are establishing, okay, this real estate or these apartment buildings, bi'idhnillah, that are also going to be in the same area as the Jami'ah, Imam Bukhari, okay, and also in the same area as the masjid, which bi'idhnillahi azza wa jalla, we're going to call Masjidul Muhājirīn, okay, and also the school that we are establishing, all of that, bi'idhnillah, is going to be in the same proximity. Now, and the idea behind that is that when people come to the Gambia, okay, they move here, whether it be for Hijrah or other than that, we can facilitate them with somewhere to stay within the community that we are building, bi'idhnillah. They can stay, they can be close, they can come to the masjid, attend the salawat in the masjid and the durus that are going to be held in the masjid. Anybody who is planning to, start the school, they can do so and they're not far away, the Jami'ah, etc. That's the plan. So, we launched this project in August last year. We launched it. And, until now, it's been tremendous. We've had overwhelming feedback. And when I say that, subhanAllah, I'm amazed in the way that people have shown such a positive response to it. And, the people who have been interested in being a part of the project, and after believing in Allah Azza wa Jal, believing in that which we are offering. And the project, inshallah ta'ala, I say, on camera today with confidence, is going to be extremely beneficial. Naam, if Allah Azza wa Jal, He puts the barakah in it, naam, He puts the barakah in it and allows it to flourish in the way that we've planned, then without a shadow of a doubt, it's going to be extremely beneficial, not only for us, okay, but for everybody who has a hand in it, okay? And naam, ya Mul Abbās, tafadali.
Just to give a little bit of clarity, a little bit more clarity on that, what we're establishing here in the Gambia. I think it is very important to mention that even with the Gambia real estate project, and anyone that was a part of the farm to fund enterprise will understand this and know this. With the Gambia real estate project, it's not just
it keeps cutting out, subhanAllah.
Something for us. This project has been set up and established to help all of us. Anyone that wants to make hijrah and they complain, or their biggest complaint is that they
it keeps cutting out, subhanAllah.
lack the finances to make hijrah. this is what this project, I'll continue inshallah.
No.
This is what this project is for, okay? Anybody that lacks the finances to make Hijrah, this is
this is
what it's for, and it's to help everybody for the Muhājirīn. But also establishing a community for us. So we're establishing housing. But for now, anyway, I would just say, as it relates to the Gambia real estate project, that wants to make Hijrah, and finance is a big factor to you, I would definitely highly recommend you join the Gambia real estate project while the opportunity is still available, because the opportunity is not going to be there forever. And that's it.
SubhanAllah, the whole message, it kept cutting out, Allah Mustan, but we're going to get that message out there again, inshallah ta'ala, la ba'sa. We'll get it out there again. But for now, in any case, that is, in a nutshell, the main points that me personally, I wanted to discuss regarding Al-Hijrah and, that which is connected to it. SubhanAllah, before doing a session like this, so many points, they come to mind. You write them down, but I know there were many other points that perhaps I could have mentioned, but وَمَا أَنْسَانِيهُ إِلَّا الشَّيْطَانِ. Like, and if anybody has any questions regarding what I spoke about, regarding, any of the projects that we're doing here in the Gambia, anything, then we can take a few questions, until the end. We still have maybe about 10 minutes before Al-Maghrib here. Sahih, and for the sisters, Abbās, she's going to be doing her own session, inshallah. The internet will work a lot better during her session, inshallah, so you can join her session when she does it, and ask as many questions as you like personally over there also, inshallah. But and if anybody has any questions connected to what I said, then feel free now. If anybody sent a question before, if you could just send it again, bi'idhnillah, because scrolling up is a bit difficult now. If you can just send your question again, then I can address it, inshallah. Ahsanallahu ilaykum. How can one make ilm the pillar of their house and raising children, etc.? How can they do it, especially when there are family members in the house who aren't seeking knowledge and don't really understand the value of ilm? Jazakum Allahu khairah. For yourself personally, you have to know and understand the value of ilm in yourself. Now, if you want to be a qudwa, if you want to be a role model within your household, especially if you're in a household wherein, the other people are not doing that which you value, then you have to be a qudwa. So you have to know the value of it within yourself first and foremost. Then once you know the value, what you need to do is you need to, carry it out within yourself. Don't worry about others. Carry it out within yourself. So make a jadwal, make a, like a schedule for yourself, and, do the things that you need to do accordingly and consistently. Now, when they see you doing it consistently, believe me, people are going to start to realize. They may not say anything, but they're going to recognize it. And once they recognize it, slowly, people, they will start to be affected by that which you do, even if they don't say anything to you directly. That's a fact. Now, it's a bit different when you are in a household with, let's say you're not the head of the household, or you're not, the main head within that household. It's a bit different, like for example, if you live with your parents. But if you have your own house, etc., you're the head of the household, or you're the parent, etc., then making it a pillar means that you understand that ilm is the main thing that you do within that house. And everything that you do has to be based on that and has to be around that. So you wake up at a certain time, you're busy with knowledge. Okay, but at 9, I need to go to work, I need to go to school. Okay, go school, go work. طيب. But in your break, you also busy yourself with ilm. When you come home, you busy yourself with knowledge. وهكذا. And include, and subhanallah, this is something that I've only seen the fruits of recently. I say this recently. Include those in your household. So if you learn a fa'idah, tell them. Say, look, did you know kada wa kada? So long as that benefit is one that is beneficial to them, tell them. Now, sometimes what I do personally, after salah, okay, I will say to them, طيب, give me a fa'idah. Just give me any fa'idah, a random fa'idah, a random benefit, and then we do it. Or I say, matalan, okay, get a book, a random book. Let's get something like this, but make it something that is always spoken about all the time, and let them know this is what you do. The same way that in other households, some people may look at their parents and say, okay, look, my dad, he has a restaurant, or my mother, she's this, she's a nurse. My dad is a doctor, or other than that. Let them know that, okay, look, my mother, my father, my sibling, whoever you are to those individuals, let them know that this person is involved in ilm, involved in knowledge, and Allah knows best. And also, as Abbās said previously regarding hijrah, make dua. If this is something that you want, ask Allah Azza wa Jal to open up your family members' hearts and make them love knowledge. Now, my question is, when will the real estate be complete, and how can one join Maraqi Academy in the summertime? طيب. So in regards to the real estate, okay, then that which was mentioned is that it's a 2-year project. Okay, inshallah ta'ala, it's a 2-year project, and that's the timeline that we're working towards. As it relates to those who have already invested and are a part of the project as it stands, then we've mentioned to them that they will receive updates periodically, every 3 to 6 months. It's a big project. It's not something that is going to be finished and established overnight. It takes time, the different steps, along the way, it takes time. So periodically, we'll give updates, letting them know, how things are getting on, if there's anything that concerns them specifically, XYZ. So, as we said, we launched it last August, and, we've given ourselves approximately 2 years to have it established, inshallah ta'ala, and it's what we're working towards. As it relates to Maraqi Academy, then, if you would like to join the academy, then the next time they will be taking students is after the summer. So the next semester after the summer, which is going to start in around October. I'm not sure, akhi barakallahu feek, if you're in the Gambia at the moment or not, but if you're here in the Gambia, you can easily come and visit and speak to the idara, the administration. Or if you're not in the Gambia and you are genuinely interested in signing up yourself or somebody, then you can send me a message, inshallah, we can speak about it, and I can let you know the necessary steps bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Now, طيب, raising your children under other parental supervision if you need a break, do you feel comfortable to do that in your Muhajir community, or was it all on your own? طيب, raising your children under other parental supervision, what does that mean? Allah yubarak feek. If you needed a break, do you feel comfortable to do that in your Muhajir community, or was it all on your own? If you could elaborate, inshallah. Sometimes people see our children do hifd and they discourage them from these things and say to them discouraging things because they are young, and that puts them away from ilm. How can one deal with family members who are like this? طيب. First of all, as it relates to your own children are your responsibility primarily. Now, I understand that in different cultures and different places, there are certain customs as it relates to family members having an input concerning the child. But the reality is that if that input they're going to have is one that is negative, then it needs to be disregarded with manners and in the best way. But it's your responsibility to, everything that goes into your child's mouth, i.e. food, you're responsible for it. Likewise, that which goes into their ears and that which they look at, you're responsible for it. And from that which goes into their ears, It's things that other people say. Now, of course, when they are out and about, then you don't have any control about what they hear. But yeah, I need to an extent, you can advise them and tell them, you should listen to this, not that, but you don't really have control over that. But when your child is around you, when they are around you, then don't allow anybody to say anything that's going to discourage them, and anything that maybe they have heard, you need to counter it 10 times harder. One mistake that many people fall into in the West when they send their children to the non-Muslim schools is that when the child goes to that school and they hear whatever foolishness they may hear in the school, barakallahu fikum, they come home, they don't counter it enough. They may sit with them a little bit and say, no, for example, this is not correct, this is not correct, but they don't counter it. Take this as a advice from me. Whatever negativity comes and your child tells you that they've heard, or you find out that your child heard, you need to counter it 10 times harder. You need to counter it 10 times harder so your child knows that, no, you can memorize the Quran. Don't let anybody tell you that you're too young or you can't do it or this or that, etc. And Allahu A'lam. And also, if you can advise those family members, if they're having a negative impact on your child or your siblings or other than that, advise them, Barakallahu feek, yani, this is not good. Why are you telling them this? Why are you telling them this? Just a second. Now, could you please give advice regarding planning for Hijrah? What are the major things one should consider? How could one avoid to overplan and drag out the actual move for making Hijrah? Barakallahu fikum. This question, I'm going to leave it to Abbās to answer. She's going to answer it, inshallah. She's here now. She's going to answer it. She'll answer it for you. I believe that she can give you a good answer for that, inshallah. Tafaddali.
So, as it relates to over-planning and making Hijrah, now, the first thing I will definitely say is set your intention. Set your intention with Allah and always make sure and ensure that you have the correct intentions for making Hijrah. That's first and foremost. The second thing is set a deadline. Set a deadline and try your utmost to stick to that deadline. Okay? But you need to have the kind of mentality where it's like by any means necessary. Because one of the things about making Hijrah is that Shaitan will throw so many things in your path. Once you set out upon your journey for making Hijrah, so many things will come up. Things that was not coming up before, they will come up now. So setting a deadline means, and having that mentality of by any means necessary, it will make it a lot easier for you to overcome those obstacles that come up along the way upon your journey. Okay? And as it relates to over planning, you need to stick to what you need to do. And the way that you do that is, first of all, even when you're picking a country, pick well. And the way that you pick well is that you need to know what your negotiables and non-negotiables are. Anyone that follows me knows that I go on about this all the time. What are your non-negotiables as it relates to a country of where you want to move to? And the way you know what your non-negotiables are is that you look at the things that you cannot go without, the things that are extremely important to you. Like, for example, some people, they need to be in an area where their children are able to have the freedom to run around with greenery, for example. Some people, like knowledge, for example, like when we moved to, when we tried out Morocco, we tried Morocco for some time, but one of the reasons why we ended up leaving was because at that time, I was very, very, very determined to start my Arabic journey in learning Arabic. And when we got to Morocco, at that time, there wasn't really any opportunities for me to learn Arabic. So it was a no-brainer for me to leave. I needed to go back somewhere where, learning Arabic would be easy for me. And, as most of us know, Egypt is the place for that. So, like I said, non-negotiables. Like, for example, if your family member, your husband, your children, they have a serious illness, you know, you go into a country that can you know, help you with that illness, like maybe like the doctors, or they have certain kinds of hospitals or whatever it is, that would be a non-negotiable for you. So you really need to outline what your non-negotiables are, and then make your plan. And always make sure that your plan has a deadline. Sorry, always make sure that your plan has a deadline. Okay, now sorry, so yeah, so now when it comes to planning for, like, if for example, if you have children or stuff like that, plan for what they need, not for what you want. Plan for what you need. What is it that you need to move to a country? What do you need to research as it relates to moving to that country? Is it safe? Is it secure? Does it have the things that you need? This is how you plan for it, and without over planning for it. And when you set a deadline, no matter how much you over plan for something, if you have a deadline, you over planning for it won't really matter, because you're leaving regardless, inshallah. Okay. The issue is with over planning is when you over plan, and then you keep pushing your deadline back. You keep pushing it back for you know, when you're gonna leave. Oh no, I don't have enough qualifications. Oh no, I'm not ready for this. I'm not ready for that. And you keep delaying it. That's where over planning becomes a problem. But if you're planning and you plan to the best of your ability, but you stick to your deadline, the planning will not be a problem for you, inshallah. The over planning of it.
Tayyib, I'm gonna take these last 3 questions, okay, and then we need to go on for Maghrib. Tayyib, it says, I mean, for what I see around me, brothers going back to the West is generally the rule. No one chooses to, but for most families, this is the only way brothers can move their families. And I guess they rather do the back and forth. They would rather do the back and forth rather than having the whole family in the West. This is very important points you're making. So what's your advice for families? Tayyib, first of all, you know, that which I mentioned about, you know, going back and forth, and, you know, the fact that it's not feasible, or it's not always feasible, please don't understand from that I am completely looking down upon anybody who may do it. Tayyib, anybody that may do it, or, you know, if you feel like this is your only option, etc. You know, sometimes you have to do it, and, you know, أخف الضررين, يعني, is the lesser of the 2 evils. But, okay, the reason why I mentioned that which I said, and, you know, my advice is that if this is your reality and this is what you're doing, don't become too comfortable doing it. Okay, don't become too comfortable doing it whereby you say, okay, khalas, yani, I'm just gonna always just do it like this. La, okay, because as Abbās said previously, there are many things that you're gonna miss out on. As I said, you know, if you're a talib, mathalan, it's going to completely, you know, cut that which you're doing. You start doing a bit of Arabic, 3 months, this and that, that's it, you cut it, you go back to the UK or to America or whatever. You start doing some Quran, you learn a juz, 2 juz, that's it, you go back, and it's like you feel like you're always going back to 0. And there's something that came to my mind recently. I was sitting down, I was reflecting, and subhanAllah, I realized that the only way that a person is truly gonna grow and develop as an individual, as a Muslim, as a talib, as a father, as a mother, whatever you're doing, and truly grow, is that they have to spend time away from the place that they grew up in reality, if that place is a place of kufr, or if that place is just a place that's not beneficial. You have to stay out. And constantly going back and forth, it, you know, it stunts your growth, as they say, you know, and it destroys what you're trying to build. You're building it, then it comes down somewhat again, and you know, you never truly attain that which you're trying to attain. Is it better than just simply staying in the lands of kufr? Yes, it is. But without a doubt, it's always better for you, you know, to try and be there, especially if you're saying you're making hijrah. Live in the land that you know, live in the land that you have made hijrah to. So, sorry, so as to not go on for too long, you know, my advice is, you know, don't be comfortable with it. Try and come up with a plan. Like, if you're the wife, come up with a plan with your husband, you know, the husband, come up with a plan with your wife, etc. You know, and try to develop a way. And for that reason, that's why we've said personally that, you know, the Gambian real estate project that we've come up with is bi'idhnillah, a way for those individuals like yourself who are feeling like, I don't have a way to remain in the lands of the Muslims. I have to keep going back, etc. This is a way that bi'idhnillah, you can invest into this project that's going to be beneficial to yourself in the dunya and the akhirah, and it's going to help you be able to stay in a Muslim land, not just Gambia, but you can use the money that you earn from it to stay in another land. Bi'idhnillah. That's my advice now, and Allahu a'lam. Naam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As the leader of the household, how does one manage the finances whilst also being a full-time student and husband/father? Ya akhi, barakallah fiqh. I'm not sure exactly when you joined, but generally that's what we've been trying to discuss today. But in brief, what I say to you is, be organized, okay? Which I know is easier said than done, but you need to be organized and you need to, know those things that are most important. Have that thing that is a pillar of your household, what it stands upon. So if that pillar of your household is knowledge and everybody, is into knowledge somewhat, then you have to say, okay, we're into knowledge. My day goes at this, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8, like this, and everything else has to somewhat branch out of that. So you have some free time here, do this. Some free time here, do that, etc. That's in a nutshell what we were speaking about. So as it relates to finances, then you have to look at yourself and say, okay, how am I able to maintain that which I try to do, okay, whilst at the same time not compromising too much in a way that is too detrimental the financial obligation that I have. So for some people, they say, okay, look, I'm gonna work, I'm gonna do a 9 to 5, and that's it, like that. Okay, I'm not sure exactly what you do yourself, but for me personally, when I was doing a 9 to 5 years ago, it didn't work. It didn't work with full-time talab. It didn't work. Okay, for some people, let me try and start a business. Okay, a business may work for you, it may not work for you, but you have to look at what can you do. Tayyib, what can I invest into? How can I make it work? But know that there's always going to be some compromise. That's what I said. There's always going to be some compromise. And if you feel like or believe that you can't compromise anything, or if you feel like balance, it means that everything is just equal, 1 hour, 1 hour, 1 hour, then this is a khata. It's a mistake. But you need to know, okay, look, I'm a talib, so I'm going to give such and such time to talabul ilm. Okay, but I also need to spend time with my family. Okay, I can give this much time to my family. I also need to, earn rizq. I'm going to give this much time for earning rizq. And Allahu a'lam, like this, ya akhina. I saw that you signed up for this late. Like, if you would like more information, then you can get in contact with me. Barakallahu feek, and we can speak more now. Can you please give advice on mortgages and financial banking in the West, also finding employment in tech in the Gambia? Okay, first of all, as it relates to mortgages, stay away from mortgages, ya akhi, barakallahu feek. As it relates to financial banking in the West, then the reality is I don't have knowledge regarding this now. I don't know much. I don't know anything, subhanAllah, about financial banking in the West. But depending on the land that you're in, I know that there are students who they spend a lot of time researching different masail and different, issues concerning financial banking in the West specifically. Perhaps you can get in contact with them and, discuss it with them. As it relates to tech in the Gambia, then again, I'm not into tech, but I know brothers that are into it. So you can get in contact with me, and inshallah I can, put you in contact, with some brothers that are into tech in the Gambia. Inshallah ta'ala, get in contact with me now. Tayyib, last question now. I plan to go to Egypt this year with my 4 children to learn Arabic, but as I'm originally from the Gambia, I wonder, could I find the science that we have in Egypt in the Gambia? Allahu Akbar. Is it better to go to the Gambia straight away or to spend a few years in Egypt first? Allahu Akbar. What a way to close this session. Tayyib. First of all, the word better. When we speak about that which is better, then that is something that is nisbi, meaning that what's better for one person may not be better for another person, and vice versa. So to answer your question, can I find the sciences in Gambia that I would find in Egypt? Yani, can I find them in Gambia? The answer is yes, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Tayyib. I want to memorize Quran. Can I memorize Quran in Gambia? Yes, you can. Okay. I want to learn Arabic. Can I learn Arabic in Gambia? Yes, I can. I want to learn fiqh. I want to learn aqidah. I want to learn other than that. Can I learn that in the Gambia? Yes, I can. Tayyib. I want to raise my children and nurture my children upon Quran and Sunnah. Can I find that in Gambia? Yes, I can. That's the reality. Now, Now, as it relates to a detailed comparison, sorry, Nam, I forgot you said that you don't understand the English too well, Nam. My apologies, Nam. طيب, as it relates to a detailed comparison between Gambia and Misr, then bi'idhnillah, I'm going to do a video regarding this, inshallah, I am. However, in brief, I'm going to keep it, short and simple. There are some things that in reality are better in Egypt. I can't pretend as it relates to, knowledge and stuff like this. There are some aspects that are better in Egypt, but without a shadow of a doubt, there are some aspects that are better in the Gambia. And, speaking from experience, my children, they, in some areas, they have developed and they have, improved a lot more here in the Gambia than they did when they were in Egypt. That's a fact. Now, so, there are things to do. And as I mentioned, there are also things that we are developing in terms of schooling and, stuff like this. So, there are definitely, this is definitely a place, that it doesn't have enough light and attention. The Gambia, people don't actually recognize it as a place. It's so small. Now, the number of Muslims in Gambia, the number of people that live in Gambia, طيب, is only about 2 million something, okay? The number of people in Cairo alone, just one city in Egypt, is over 10 million. Look at the difference. So people don't really consider anything in Gambia. It's just this small country, but the country has a lot of potential, without a doubt, and opportunities, without a doubt. And Allahul Musta'an, it's Maghrib time here, so we're gonna pray. But Naam, that's a good point, Barakallah Feek. Naam, I will upload this inshallah ta'ala on YouTube, and you can maybe slow it down also, and listen again in your own time. However, if there's anything that or any other questions that anybody may have, then feel free to send them via email. And I can address these points either via email or in a video or, separately like this. It's been a beneficial session, in my opinion. I hope everybody enjoyed it. And that's all I have to say for today. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta wa astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.